Alright, so this is the tutorial on how to upload leads and push them into Salesforce. First thing you do is you'll log in, you'll see this page, you'll go to Admin, Import, and Prospects. At this point, you just choose the file that you want. It must be a .csv file, so if it's in Excel, make sure you save it as a CSV. We will choose Book 1. And make sure you click this button or it won't let you continue. This is where you'll map the fields and make sure that the corresponding fields are matching with the corresponding header and row, first row. Overwrite if you wish, which will basically saying that if there are any conflicting information between this record and the record that already exists in Salesforce, this one will overwrite it. And then also you can choose the appropriate field from a drop down here if you feel that the one that's on there is not appropriate. Okay, at this point it makes you create a campaign. Now this is a Pardot only campaign and will have no bearing on your Salesforce campaign. It's primarily for organization rules. So you're either going to want to create a new campaign or find one that fits it down here. Let me see here. Right here, you can name the campaign whatever you want, or you can name it cybersecurity events or whatever, and then you just create campaign and it'll repopulate back up here and you go ahead and choose it. So but for now, the campaign we will use is just website tracking, and again this is only for Pardot organizational reasons. Same with the tag. It's optional to put a tag here, but the tags will also help you find this campaign a little easier inside of Pardot only. And then here it says the campaign. Here you're setting a campaign source, which basically means when you upload them into Pardot, this was the campaign that they were originally put into, again for organizational purposes. It'll also help people to know how this person originally became a lead or a prospect. Alright, this brings us to the next page. As you can see, I have a few options here. You can add them to specific lists within Pardot only, and these lists then can be used for reference to either mail to this group only, or it can be used for organizational purposes. You can also remove them from other lists. So for instance, if you don't want this person to exist in a list regarding summation as well as a list regarding cybersecurity, you can go ahead and click a list to make sure that they're taken off of. So far the only one I've ever used is when I'm importing is I added them to a list for quick reference. And the list I usually add them to are going to be general. It will be, if these are leads, I will add them to Salesforce leads upload. And then I'll also, let's say it's a cybersecurity event, I will upload them to cybersecurity events list as well. That way these are two lists we can go and isolate to segment based on interest and whatnot. And if you want to create a new list, you go ahead and just press that. It'll bring a drop down below, just like the campaigns. You go ahead and make your list, whatever you want it to be. Just make sure that email test list, you only want to click that if this is a group you want to send email tests to, which it usually will not be. A public list means that the people will be able to unsubscribe from this specific type of correspondence. There's really no reason to put that in there unless it's a newsletter type communication. And then CRM visible, which is I usually click, will mean that people within Pardot and Salesforce will be able to see what list they're a part of. So that's helpful. I almost always click that if I make a new list. But we're not going to make a new list this time. Actually, yeah, let's make a new list just so you guys can see what it looks like. So here we will put and again, CRM visible, create a list, and then There. It'll go ahead and give me the dummy list, and then I'll go ahead and add the other list back in there. There we go. So now I got these contacts will exist in all of these lists. And again, that's to help us segment. Okay, so now it's going to give you an overview of what your import will look like. Looks good, so we confirm and save. Okay, so now it's going to give me this waiting status, and that's usually going to take quite a while for big lists, sometimes up to 20 minutes. If it's a small list, you're talking usually 5 minutes tops. So we'll go ahead and come back here when that status is changed. Alright, so now we come back in here and we look at our import. We can see it took about 10 minutes to get 5 imports in there. We can see 2 new ones were created and 4 were updated. Reason being the 4 updated on our dummy list was because I used the same dummy emails, so it updated them. But we want everybody, regardless of whether they were new or updated, we want them all to be pushed into our Salesforce campaign. So what we do is we click on this hyperlinked number under created. Alright, and we want to make sure that everybody in here is tagged. So we're going to go to tools here and we're going to press the tool tag entire table. Now what I like to do is tag it with the campaign name inside of Salesforce. I think it makes it a lot easier to have the same name across both platforms. So I will tag it accordingly. Tag. Alright, now I'll go back to the imports. Alright, now I will choose the updated contacts. Again, I will tag the entire table with the same exact tag. Oops, forgot to press enter there. Enter and tag. Alright, now everybody that we just imported has been tagged with a unique tag that we will now use again to create an automated rule, which is when we go into marketing, automation, and rules. Here we're going to add a new automation rule. Okay. I again like to name it the same exact name as the campaign in Salesforce for easy lookup. I usually don't let's see here. So I'll put it in a folder that makes sense. We'll put this one in here just because it's a dummy account. Alright, again, you can add a tag for organizational purposes. I always do. And then right here it says match type. Make sure you put match all. That means all the criteria have to be matched in order for this contact to be pushed into Salesforce. I'm going to put add new rule. And this rule will be prospect tag is, down and find your prospect tag. Oops. There it is. So if the prospect tag is US dummy test campaign, we want the following to happen. This has to be clicked. That is what tells it to push it into Salesforce. And then you also, of course, want to put it into your campaign. Go down and find our campaign here. And this is where you will choose the member status. So let's say these people responded. And this right here will be controlled from the Salesforce campaign side. Now, a few troubleshooting things here is if your campaign is not showing up here, that'll be usually for two reasons. The first reason is that this active button has not been selected. If this active button is not selected in your campaign, go ahead and press edit. And you'll see a little button on the right. Just go ahead and make sure that's clicked. The second reason as to why it will not show up is because you just created it and it hasn't populated in Pardot yet. Pardot's really cachy. So go ahead and press that the refresh button and it will usually show up within a few minutes. Okay, so now we have everything set up the way it needs to be, and all we do is press. Again, don't do that. It just takes too long, and it really is pretty quick. You don't need to execute it in real time unless it's something that needs to be responded to within minutes. Even then, this is fast enough. So create automation rule. Now it's going to be automatically paused after you create the rule. And this is basically giving you a chance to make sure that everything is set up the way it should be. So if we scroll up here to the top, after this is done refreshing, you'll see it says paused. Double check to make sure everything's the way you want. Go ahead and press that cog. And press resume. Okay, so now the rule is been executed, and what it's going to do is go through and look at every single prospect in our database and find any that have a tag that specifies exactly, or that reads back exactly what we specified, and then it'll match the prospects and kick them over into the Salesforce campaign in here. So if we come back in a few minutes, we will see that they've started to be pushed into this campaign. It usually takes about 10 minutes to start loading, and then can take up to a half hour if it's a large list. So that is the process in a nutshell. If you have any questions, of course, reach out to me, and that's it.